My Pepe always said, if you see something, no you didn't. If you hear something, no you didn't. Recently, I heard someone say, if someone in the woods asks you the same question more than once, you probably shouldn't answer it. I'm Rachel, paranormal investigator and spooky storyteller, and I find the creepiest stories on the internet. Get ready with me while I tell you a true scary story. That hurt clip. Alright, so 10 years ago, Matt headed out on a solo camping trip near Mount Rainier in Washington. The first night, he felt completely ordinary. He found a quiet clearing deep in the woods, pitched his tent, and built a small fire. He ate dinner and eventually crawled into his sleeping bag for the night. Sometime around midnight, he woke up to movement outside his tent. So at first, he figured it was probably some animal, like, hanging out, wandering around the camp, but the sound didn't feel random. The footsteps actually felt like they were slow and deliberate, almost like they were human, which kind of scared him. Carefully, Matt reached over and cracked open the zipper just enough to peek outside of the tent. Sitting beside the fire pit was a man. The stranger was sitting there by the fire, completely still, staring into the fading embers like he'd been there for hours, and then almost as if he sensed Matt was watching him, he slowly lifted his head. Their eyes met. The man's expression instantly changed. His eyes widened in shock, like he'd been caught somewhere he absolutely shouldn't have been. Well, obviously he shouldn't have been there, he wasn't invited. Anyway, without saying a word, he jumped up to his feet and bolted straight into the trees. Matt scrambled out of the tent and he grabbed his flashlight and swept it through the woods, but there was nothing there, no movement, no snapping branches, and no footsteps. He assumed that he would hear some footsteps fading into the distance as this guy ran away, but he heard nothing, just silence. The next morning, he was unsettled but trying to brush it off. He figured there was just like some strange guy in the woods hanging out. Maybe he lived there, who knows. People are kind of strange. So anyway, he packed up and continued on deeper into the forest, and over the next couple of days, he hiked roughly 15 miles before setting up camp at another clearing. That night, while sitting beside his fire, he heard something. So he heard something moving, walking, and it was just beyond the tree line, slow footsteps crunching leaves under their careful steps. Again, it sounded human, not like an animal. And then the creepiest thing happened. A voice quietly called out from the darkness. The voice said, "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" Matt's stomach dropped. It dropped immediately. He could not explain why. He just knew that this was the same man that had been sitting outside his tent the night before. And that really freaked him out. So trying to stay calm, he answered, "No, I don't know where that is." For a moment, everything went silent. And then the voice came again, closer this time. Ooh, sharper. "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" Matt grabbed his flashlight and swung the light beam toward the trees. So he wanted to see if he could find this guy because that's creepy. And he's out here in the middle of nowhere, like solo camping. So there he was, half hidden behind a tree trunk. The same man, he stood motionless watching him. And then from somewhere even closer, the voice came again. So at this point, he's like, what is going on? Like, that can't be human. What is happening? And the voice again said, "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" Matt jerked the flashlight around and nearly stumbled backward. Somehow the man was now only a few feet away. So Matt's understandably really freaked out by everything that's happened, and he doesn't really sleep that night. He just kind of stays up gripping onto a knife for protection, and eventually around 3 a.m. exhaustion finally like really takes over and he falls asleep. He kind of just like passes out. Alright, so at sunrise he packed his gear and started heading back toward his car. He was done, whatever this was, he wanted out of the woods immediately. It followed him for like 15 plus miles, and that's pretty insane, right? But before he could make it back, darkness fell again, forcing him to camp for one more night. And this time, he didn't even light a fire. He was like, nope, this is clearly how this thing is finding me. I am not lighting fire tonight. We're not doing that. Sometime in the middle of the night, Matt woke up once again to footsteps circling his tent. And the footsteps, again, were slow, careful, patient, back and forth around him for hours, while he just sat there in the tent, gripping his knife. He stayed completely still, barely even breathing. Just before sunrise, the footsteps suddenly stopped. Then whatever had been outside took off running into the forest. So at this point, Matt is like really done with this. So in the morning, at the first sign of sunlight, Matt packed up immediately and started moving again. But he hadn't really slept in the past 2 nights, so exhaustion eventually caught up with him, and by nightfall, he was forced to stop again. Terrified and running on almost no sleep at this point, he laid awake in his tent in the darkness when he heard the voice one more time from somewhere deep in the trees. And it said, once again, "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" Then something began sprinting around his whole campsite. Back and forth. Again and again, it just kept sprinting back and forth around all of his belongings. Mixed with the running were these strange, almost animalistic noises, inhuman echoes coming through the woods, like whoever was out there was toying with him, trying to scare him, trying to make him go crazy. And the moment the sun finally came up, Matt once again grabbed his gear and ran. He said he actually ran this time, and he did not stop until he reached his car. The second he got to the car, he locked the car doors behind him and completely broke down, crying from relief that he was finally out of the woods, away from the person or being who had been terrorizing him. So somehow, over the course of 3 days, this man had followed him. I say man, using the word man lightly. I don't know if this was a man, and it doesn't sound like it was to me, honestly. Anyway, so over the course of 3 days, this man had followed him over 30 miles through dense wilderness. This creature had no visible gear with him. It was just him alone in the wilderness. Unless, of course, maybe he like set up his camp somewhere nearby and Matt just like never saw it. He only saw the man. It seems pretty unlikely to me. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But anytime Matt saw him, he didn't like have a flashlight. He didn't have a backpack. He didn't have anything on him. It was just the one guy. And over the course of these 3 days and the 30 miles, the only thing this man ever said the whole time was, "Do you know how to get to Bell's Canyon?" If you've ever experienced anything like this, or just really any creepy story, especially like, I really love the ones where people go out into the woods. I don't think I'm ever going to go solo camping after listening to a lot of these stories. Listen, I love being in the woods and I love my alone time, but after hearing a lot of these stories, I don't think I will ever in my whole life go solo camping, ever. And the second that something starts following me or talking to me, like if something that doesn't seem human starts talking to me and saying weird things and acting weird around me, I'm out of there. And you would probably never catch me camping ever again for the rest of my life. If you have any scary stories like this, or just any scary stories in general, I would love to hear them. I actually host something that I call the Spooky Speakeasy at 10:30 p.m. Eastern every night here on TikTok Live. It's kind of like a paranormal podcast, but more interactive. So if you're into this kind of thing, I would love to see you there. But if you have a story that you'd like to share that you want me to read either on there or on here, my email address is actually in my bio. You could also just drop a comment down here, and I would love to hear from you. I'm always looking for more scary stories. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Stay spooky.